What is going on, traders? A few things to talk about. We're going to go over the SPY, triple Qs, the VIX, and whether I think this is a bull trap or not. Before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So today in the Discord, didn't really do too much on my end. I just alerted triple Q puts 420 strike at 3.17, and then we took profit at 3.60. So congratulations to Discord's members on that. And then I also alerted a trade idea, or at least my trading plan in regards to the SPY. Every time the SPY hits 525, 526, I'm going to load up 486 strike puts for May 16th. And yeah, I also put out a tight stop loss and a more lenient stop loss. So it's up to Discord members whether or not they take the tight stop loss or the more lenient stop loss, which is at 532. So overall, pretty good day. Nothing too crazy. Winners tab. Everyone's killing it as usual. I heard, for example, she made $400 off of 520 puts off the SPY. Congratulations to you. She made another $200 off more SPY puts, and then she made another $300 off SPY puts as well. This guy right here is always killing it. Made a lot of profit today off both calls and puts on the SPY. So congratulations to you. This guy right here, he's decided to hold the triple Q puts, which is completely fine. I don't see anything wrong with that. But ultimately, he's in profit right now. SPY puts, he jumped into 498 SPY puts, made $250 off of that, and then he made another $150 off SPY puts as well. So yeah, pretty good day for us in the Discord. So if you want to be part of a community that's focused on building confidence, making decisions together, having fun, I think it's really important to have fun, laugh while you're trading. We joke around, you know, if you're super serious all the time, probably not the Discord for you, but we joke, we laugh, we make money. We're not going to win 100% of our trades, but the goal is to win majority of our trades, which I think I'm doing pretty good at. You know, I'll let you be the judge of that. But ultimately, Discord link will be in the description below. So let's look at let's actually start with the NQ. All right, so NQ. All right, and then later on in the video, we're going to go over what institutions are doing, of course. So NQ, your key level here is about 18,500. That goes without saying. As you guys can see, we're on a 2-hour time frame. You pretty much hit the supply and demand zone, and you're rejecting it so far. It's not a convincing rejection just yet, but you did reject this supply and demand zone. Hopefully, you guys can see this wick right here. So as long as you stay below 18,500, you open up the floodgates to 18,250. As you guys can see, we kept bouncing within this range between 18,000. Yeah, 18,250, between 250 and 200 on the NQ, right? So if we manage to get below 18,200, then we're looking at a move all the way back down to about 18K. Lowest we could be looking at is that level that we talked about in previous videos, 17,900. If you manage to get below 17,900 and actually hold, I wouldn't consider this a hold. This was kind of like a fake out, which is kind of annoying, right? But if you manage to hold below 17,900, again, you're looking at a move towards 17,700, and then you enter illiquid territory all over again, which is right where these guys are. All right. It's important to note that you do have a fair value gap down here, or you have the rest of the fair value gap down here, all the way towards about 17,300. I do imagine at some point in time the Nasdaq is going to want to clear this area out down here. All right. So hopefully this makes sense. Right, so at some point in time, I do think we're going to revisit this area down here. I can't say for sure when this is going to happen, but if we do revisit this area at this point, once we hit 17,700, I do imagine that that's when the market is going to make a decision and actually clear this fair value gap out, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. So that's what I'm looking at when it comes to downside for the NQ. As far as upside goes, 18,500 goes without saying. That's your key level here. You want to see us get mount and hold above 18,500, break, retest, and then you're looking at a move as high as 18,800, possibly 19K. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for the NQ. Nothing too crazy just of yet. You do have a gap. I don't know if I can't tell if this gap was filled all the way, but you do have somewhat of a potential gap fill all the way at 19K, so that could be something you could look out for. But again, don't obsess over gaps. All right, you will lose money trying to obsess over gaps. So that's what I'm looking at for NQ. ES 5,300 is your key level here. You managed to get above it. Now if we zoom out, I meant to show this on the Nasdaq. I'll go back to the Nasdaq in a bit. So right here, all right, so let me mark this out for you guys. So you have a bottom here and a bottom here. Okay, so right now you're pretty much within the range of this double bottom neckline at around, I want to say, well, yeah, 5300. So as long as you're above 5300 on the ES, you are looking at a move between 5330 and 5350. We already made that move, but if we can manage to get above 5330 and actually hold, then we're looking at a move towards 5350. Highest we can go is about 5380, 5400, at least for the short term. As far as downside goes, it goes without saying, you just want to break back below 5300, break back below this double bottom neckline right here to the left. And then from there, you're looking at a move all the way back down to 5,200. If you manage to give up 5,200, you're heading towards 5,150. You give up 5,150. I would actually say about 5,120 is really more important at this point. Then you're definitely heading back into the liquid territory. And just like we saw on the NASDAQ, you do have a fair value gap within the range between 5K and 4,900. Lowest you could potentially go is 4,800. So that's what I'm looking at for the ES when it comes to upside and downside. SPY, 528 is your, well, 530. 530 is really more important here. 530 is your key level that you really want to focus on here. 530, if SPY manages to get above 530, then you're looking at a move all the way towards about 533, 532 more or less. And then from there, you could be looking at a move towards 535. Highest you could potentially go is 539. I believe there's a gap somewhere around here. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, so yeah. Yeah, I'm guessing I'm wrong. Okay, but regardless, that's what I'm looking at for the SPY when it comes to upside. As long as you stay below 530, you're looking at a move towards 525, which we've seen over and over again throughout the day because we just kept getting all this random news back and forth. But if you manage to get below 525 on the SPY, let's actually mark it out here. If you manage to get back below 525 and actually hold, right, because we keep getting below it, but we keep wicking back towards the upside because news is just absolutely diabolical today. But if you can get back below 525 and actually hold, then you're looking at 522. We talked about 522 in our previous video. If you mount and hold above 522, right, you will feel that gap at 526, and that's exactly what happened. But ultimately, guys, your key level, your level of all levels here on the SPY is 515. If you manage to get back below 515 all over again on the SPY, I'm almost 100% sure, at least 98% sure, that at that point you're going to head back towards 500, low 500s. All right, 500, probably 498. All right, if you get back below 515, if you get below 515, then you're looking at a move towards 512. After that, you're looking at a move towards 509. We've seen the reaction to 509, I believe, yesterday. Right, we saw how the market react to this level here. So you definitely want to see us get below 509 if you're bearish. Right, so you want to see a break, retest, and then from there you're definitely heading towards 500, 498, somewhere around that range. And then again, you have this fair value gap in this area. It's also important to note that once again you have this double bottom, so you have a bottom here, and your neckline is at around 525. So that is why 525 is your key level here. You manage to break and hold below 525 and get back below this double bottom neckline, then you're definitely heading towards 522 at minimum. All right, so that's what we're looking at for the SPY. And then I just want to show you guys the double bottom on the NASDAQ. So if you just look to the left, across futures and ETFs, you're going to see these double bottoms. Mark these necklines here because they're very key. Right now, when it comes to the NASDAQ, you're trading right below the neckline of this double bottom here. So again, bottom here, and so your key level here is about, I would say 50, I'm not 50, what am I talking about? 18,350. You manage to get below 18,350 and hold, then you're looking at a move towards 18,300, 18,250. So that's what we're looking at on the NASDAQ. All right, so let's talk about the VIX real quick. So the VIX, I showed this in the Discord. The VIX has an inverted hammer pattern on the 4-hour time frame, which is a bullish pattern, which means that the market will most likely move inverted of this bullish move, meaning to the downside. If you need an example of a inverted hammer pattern, here it is right here. Let me see if you guys can actually see that. Yeah, just zoom in. All right, but you have an inverted hammer pattern here. If we go in the past and get examples of how the VIX reacts to inverted hammer patterns, most of the time it does react bullish. So here, for example, there's an inverted hammer pattern here. You got upside here. Here is another example. You got a little bit of upside and then you kind of like, rolled back down. But here's another inverted hammer pattern. The VIX forms a lot of inverted hammer patterns. All right, so here as well, you have another inverted hammer pattern. You pump towards the upside, so obviously the market would do the inverse of that. So yeah, anytime the VIX, or at least majority of the time, the VIX shows inverted hammer patterns, here's another example. You pump towards the upside, at least for the VIX. So I would definitely keep an eye on that. You now have two gaps towards the upside. If we go to the hourly time frame, which is crazy because I don't even look at the hourly time frame, this gap right here is not completely filled. I would say you can argue that it is, but it doesn't look like it's completely filled. So right about here, pretty close. I would say 29.5 is where you want to see this thing get filled, and then from there, I do think if this does happen, I do think the VIX is going to pump back towards the upside. You can also argue that there's potential for a double bottom here, right? So you have a bottom here, and then you'll have another bottom forming here, right? It's not there yet, but and then it's not there yet, but you would have a potential double bottom here if that just so happens to happen, right? So and then your neckline would be here at around 33. So something to look out for. All right, something to look out for. This gap is still up here at around 33.7. Then you have another gap. We go to the daily time frame. You have another gap all the way at around 37.5. Right. So there's a lot of support, and I know I tell you guys not to obsess over gaps, but there's gaps in both directions. So something has to happen, right? I only talk about not obsessing over gaps when it's in like one direction, but there's like gaps close in both directions. So it's really tough to say. But I will say that 29.5 is very tough support on the VIX. You guys see it here. Go to back to the 4-hour time frame. You see that we've continued to respect this level, or at least try our best to respect this level. So I would say 29.5, 29, somewhere around that range. Very tough support. If we can manage to break and hold below this, then you can definitely be looking at a potential move towards this gap all the way at 22, 23, somewhere around that range. All right. So that's what I'm looking at for the VIX. We look at quant data. So about 6 minutes, 7 minutes after close, after the closing bell, we see that institutions loaded up 501 puts for the SPY. May 16th is the expiration. And this is pretty much a target that I have. I do think the SPY is heading back towards 500 pretty soon. So yeah, we saw that again 6 minutes after close. SPY May 16th is the expiration. 501 is the strike. Puts, they were loaded at 527.10. The quantity is insane. 11,000. You guys ask me all the time, what do I look for when it comes to quant data? What's a reasonable play to follow? Anything that has a quantity over 5K, you definitely want to take serious. Okay, I'm not saying you should trade it. I'm just saying you should really, really take it seriously. So anything with a quantity over 5K, you might want to take seriously. All right, no institution is putting this amount of money and hedging. Okay, they're not. They're not getting this amount of contracts and hedging. At least that's my opinion. Okay, they were loaded at the ask, as you guys can see, so that means they're most likely in this position, and then the premium is 7.16 million. So someone is betting on the SPY tanking pretty soon, which makes sense to me. It's crazy, the shocker, right? And then they loaded again. I didn't even see this. So April 30th, even more puts. So expiration was April 30th. I didn't even see this. Wow. Did this just happen? No, it didn't. So yeah, 4:06 Eastern time. SPY puts April 30th is the expiration. 501 strike. They were loaded at 527.36. Quantity is 8,000. Crazy, right? And then the premium was 1.69 million. These are actually really cheap, man. All right, so I might actually look at these at open. We'll see. But yeah, premium is 1.69 million, so not the same in comparison to what we just saw, but the quantity is insane. Again, you don't get these amount of contracts off of a hedge, right? That's stupid. Okay, that's just dumb in my opinion. So yeah, you definitely want to pay attention to that. Take it seriously. I'm not saying trade it or anything. I'm just saying you might want to keep it in the back of your mind. All right, so I am leaning towards today being a bull trap just based off what we're seeing on the VIX. The only saving grace right now that's kind of having me like we might see more upside, the only saving grace, okay, is Apple. Okay, so Apple has this falling wedge pattern right here, and the projected measured move for this, and I've been watching this pattern for like a day or two now. The projected move for this is 210. Okay, 210, and that's not a crazy target for Apple. It's really not, right? So 210, you can see a move towards 212, and you will be hitting the bottom of this gap fill, right? The bottom of this gap fill. So around 212, 211. Come on, work with me. All right. So around 212, 213, you could be seeing a move for Apple heading back up here. And yeah, from there, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it fills this gap all the way at 220. But that's the only signs that we could see more upside. Maybe Apple just helps, either sustains the market, before tanking, or it drags the market towards the upside, right? So that's what I'm looking at for Apple. That's like the only thing I'm seeing that could potentially, pump the market towards the upside. Again, the measured move for this falling wedge is 210. It's been pumping ever since it broke out of this falling wedge. So far it is playing out. Tesla. I do apologize. I told you guys I was going to make a video on Tesla, but I mean, what do you talk about here? Right? The best thing I could tell you is that, yeah, you got a death cross, right? Uh, I'm not surprised Tesla IV crushed people. I'm just not surprised. I didn't want to trade it today. Everyone was asking me, am I going to trade it? And I'm just like, no, I'm not. Because the reason being is that everyone and their dog is freaking bearish on Tesla, right? I don't think anyone's expecting Tesla to beat this quarter. It wouldn't make sense, right? It's possible, earnings is earnings. It all depends on, what Elon Musk say or what guidance is, right? But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone was expecting Tesla to just, you know, do one of these. Like, oh my God, we're rich. Like, no, I don't think that was going to happen. If you thought that was going to happen, you're insane. Not only that, but when it comes, and I said this in the Discord, when we're looking at the weekly time frame here, that's actually, well, one, you're looking at a descending triangle, by the way, a massive descending triangle. But if we get rid of all this, you're below the 200 weekly MA at around 250. So upside was very limited, in my opinion, when it comes to Tesla. They would have to say something absolutely insane. They would have to introduce something insane for us to even consider breaking above the 200 MA on the weekly time frame. Not only that, but if you look closely, you got all these bearish wicks here, bearish wick, bearish wick, bearish wick, and these are on a weekly time frame. So like I said in the Discord, upside just seemed very limited, whether they beat earnings or not. I said the most they could possibly do is maybe 260 before wicking back down, but ultimately I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised this thing Ivy crushed the whole universe. Okay, so if you were bullish on Tesla, bravo to you for being brave. But yeah, I'm hoping you didn't put like crazy amount of money. And who knows, maybe this thing pumps in the morning. I don't know, but I'm hoping you didn't go absolutely insane on this thing. But ultimately, I don't see a world where Tesla does anything crazy towards the upside. Not only that, but historically Tesla bottoms between April and May, so I think Tesla has one more drop. Okay, I do think Tesla has one more drop. Lowest I'm looking at is about 180, between 180 and 150. I could be wrong. We're getting pretty close to the end of April, so maybe this is the bottom. I'm not counting on it. You have a death cross on the daily time frame. You have a death cross everywhere. Now, that goes without saying. You have a death cross on the triple Qs. You have a death cross on the SPY. If you don't know what a death cross is, it's when the 50 crosses below the 200 MA. Historically, this is pretty bad. It doesn't spell disaster a lot of the times, or some of the times, but majority of the time it spells disaster. Okay, so we'll have to wait and see. But you have a death cross on NQ, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you got like crazy amount of contracts on Tesla calls betting on its earnings to beat you, yeah, you just got oiled down. Okay, you just pants down, whipped across your face. You probably liked it because you're weird like that. All right, but other than that, that's pretty much all I have. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think this pump is going to lead to all-time highs, right? Do you think this pump is a trap? I'm leaning more towards a trap, right? I mean, we see it on quant data, right? I mean, these guys, there's no way these guys got puts. These kind of puts with these amount of contracts just to get destroyed. Okay, that would be pretty bad. All right, so do you think that shorts are going to get squeezed tomorrow? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I try my best to respond to majority of you, if not all. But if I don't, then chances are I didn't get the notification or whatever the case may be. We're close to 10K subscribers, right? So I do plan on doing a giveaway for the 10K subscribers if we get to 10K subscribers. So I really appreciate the support, guys. You guys have been absolutely amazing. At least majority of you have been absolutely amazing in the comments below. Very supportive. Whether you join the Discord or not, I don't care. I really appreciate the support. If you want to join the Discord, you want to be a part of a community, you want to build confidence, that's what the Discord is about. It's not about being a millionaire overnight. That would be great, but it's not about being a millionaire overnight, or getting your rent paid overnight or anything. It's about being a part of a community, building the confidence to take trades, right? Being able to ask each other, hey, what do you think about this? And sharing knowledge with each other, right? It's not about, getting rich overnight, or, trying to turn $100 into $1,000. Again, that would be great, but it's not about that. It's about us beating the market together, right? That's what it's about. And if you want to joke, you want to laugh, I'm not an uptight guy. It may seem that way on YouTube, but I'm not some uptight guy. I try my best, to be myself, right? I'm pretty much myself in the Discord, right? I joke around. I think that surprises people because I'm always joking with everybody in the Discord. People joke on me, they roast me in the Discord. We have fun, right? So if you're super serious, you probably should enjoy the Discord if you're overly serious. All right, but other than that, that's all I have. Until the next video, traders, have a good one.